All right, we'll start here in a couple of minutes, just checking the clock. I'm going to go grab my watch because my machine is not very happy with me at the moment.
Andrew, Jennifer is introducing Carly on the other one, so I think you could probably get started if you wanted.
Yeah, I was just waiting for 3 o'clock to roll around, but welcome to the Fed session. So today we're going to have colleagues from the Atlanta, Cleveland, St. Louis, and Philadelphia banks, and we're going to be talking about the types of work that we've been doing to convert things over into the virtual space. So we'll give you an update on that work. Each of the banks is going to present for 6 minutes. I will give them a warning when they have 1 minute left. The standard disclaimer applies for all of our presentations, which is that the remarks that we're about to give are our own views and not necessarily those of our respective reserve banks or those of the Federal Reserve System. So I'm going to get my slides started here. And then we are going to actually turn it over to my colleague, Jackie Morgan, from the Atlanta Fed.
All right, thanks, Andrew. So while that pulls up, my portion of the presentation is going to focus on how we transitioned a lot of our PD to online instruction. So Andrew, let's go ahead and go to the next slide. And I have a couple key areas that we're going to focus on. And so Andrew, I just want to be sure you're hearing me.
I am hearing you.
Great.
My share is a little, something's going on with my share. So
That's okay.
1 second.
No worries. Well, we'll just talk through some things. So I'm coming at you from my car right now. So I just wanted to be sure that everything was connecting well. But so I think one of the things we can mention is there's a real value. And if you were on the last session for Personal Finance and Econ Challenge, they talked about how they used multiple co-hosts or presenters for their session. So those are one of our lessons learned, and that's what I'm going to focus on first, is some of our lessons learned. We found, especially like with using Zoom, you can easily assign somebody as a co-host when they come in. So having them as your co-host or as the presenter is really great to be able to have that. I have learned that next week, WebEx is supposed to do a release that they will now have not the alternate host option, but the co-host option. So for those of you using WebEx, that might provide a little bit more flexibility also. The other lesson that we learned was the true value in having the phone apps for both Zoom and WebEx available. For both from the side for folks to be able to connect no matter where they are. We really encouraged our educators not just to call in, because we have a lot that will call in for our webinars, but to use those phone apps so that they could view the slides if they wanted to do that. They could see us and we could engage with them more deeply. We also found the phone app was really valuable for us, for our Fed staff, when we had some issues with using not WebEx meetings, but there's a portion called WebEx events. Some of our firewalls caused some issues. So the phone apps became invaluable for that, for some of our presenters to connect that way. We found that engagement is essential. And my goodness, some of you were on the the Pear Deck session this morning. I think that's what it's called, right? The Pear application, whatever it's called. And what a fun way to be able to engage virtually. And we found that that's really important. And there's so many easy ways within the systems to do that. Whether you're using polling, we use the chats a lot and just pose the question in the chat and have people provide feedback there. I think it's a really easy way to be able to engage that way as well. Okay. The other lesson that we learned was breakout rooms. And this is another exciting thing coming with WebEx also. Next week, WebEx meetings is supposed to be adding breakout rooms. And so a lot of us have been using breakout rooms in Zoom. Hopefully they'll be equally as functional when we go to WebEx. But the things that we found that was essential for using breakout rooms was having clear instructions, exactly what we wanted folks to be able to do when they got in those breakout rooms. Potentially having a discussion leader, and if there was complex content, making sure that in some cases we had a Fed person or one of our center folks go in as the discussion leader to be talking with talking points. So making sure they understood the content that was being covered, whoever that discussion leader is, and having those talking points was really valuable for us. Another tool that we used was, and I use this with my partner with the Tennessee Council. So she and I used a tool for tracking engagement. Then we were able to send people into breakout rooms because there was just the two of us and we had about 10 breakout rooms. And so we were able to track engagement using a tool called Pinup. It's like using little sticky notes, and you're able to then kind of see, sent everybody into the Pinup app, and then we were able to see. So Andrew, go to the next slide so we can show what Pinup looks like.
There it is.
So yeah, there it is. So we had everybody assigned to their team. So they would go to their sticky note. So breakout room 1 or team 1, they would go to sticky note number 1 and make their notes there. So as the host, I was able to assign everybody. And then Maria was able to, we'd say, oh, it looks like group 2 isn't typing. And we would have her as a co-host. She would go over to room 2 and check out and see what's going on. Do you all understand the instructions? And we would kind of tag team that way. I would always stay in the main room and she was going to the other rooms. But this tool, be sure to use pinup.com. Don't just Google Pinup because you got a lot of really weird stuff when you do that. And I see somebody said they use Padlet, so kind of similar. Yeah, absolutely. So lots of cool tools like that. But another great way to do online engagement. Andrew, let's go to the next slide. Okay. The other thing I wanted to focus on is the transitions that we made. So we were already doing a good number of webinars with the Atlanta Fed, but we really ramped those up this spring and summer. We were using both WebEx and Zoom. Those were our two platforms we're using. The programs we did were generally 1 hour standalone and or part of a series. So it might have been a 1 hour one that you could just take it alone, or there might have been 3 different ones that you could take them independently, but they tied together in some way. In another case, we actually had a 3 hour program that we broke into 1.5 hour segments so that people had that break, because we know that staying on the Zoom fatigue thing is truly real. The other challenge that we have, so in Tennessee, we have a required course in personal finance. And in order to be able to teach the course, the educators have to go through a training, a 2-day, 14-hour training to provide them the credentialing to teach that. And so our Nashville branch of the Atlanta Fed partners with the Tennessee Council to do that training. And we did it as a hybrid course. And the way we did that was we brought people together in the morning to talk about content and resources, used tons of engagement tools, added a break or two in there to give people a minute away. And then midday, we had them do a lot of self-guided learning. So exploring lessons, looking at resources.
Less than a minute left, Jackie.
Sure, thank you. Finding videos and then entering what responses that we had to specific questions in Google Docs. And then finally in the afternoon, we came back and debriefed and went over additional content and strategies. So just some different ways that we transitioned. And so Andrea, I guess we're ready to go on to St. Louis.
Now we're gonna hear from Cleveland next. So Carice Turner-Smith's gonna present to us.
Thanks, Jackie. I actually learned a lot. I'll be reaching out to you for a few resources. Okay, so today we are going to talk about how the Cleveland Fed has transitioned into this virtual learning environment. So prior to March, we had a traditional educational program structure, as many of our other Fed colleagues did. We did a combination of in-person visits, which included hands-on activities, tours of the building, and then we basically had prior to that, very little virtual programming. As a regional education outreach coordinator who covers a lot of the Western Pennsylvania part, I did a little bit of virtual programming, but it was slim to none. And the same for our Cincinnati branch, which has a learning space as well. And so there were no virtual activities that we really offered. But if you go to the next slide, obviously we had to shift. So as Jackie mentioned, we also started using a variety of virtual environments to conduct our professional development. And so two of our upcoming events, which we are actually going to be hosting, which were previous in-person events, our Educator Night, which is an annual event that we started to interact with our educators in our district, give them an overview where it's just talking about our programming and our resources, just a good way for us to engage with them and really appreciate them. And then our Danny Dollar program, which is a financial literacy program for elementary age students. Typically, we would conduct those professional development workshops in person at the bank and at our branches, but now those have both moved online. So Educator Night, we are actually hosting next week, next Thursday from 4 to 5 p.m. It's going to be virtual, and we are actually using Microsoft Teams because we're still figuring out the whole virtual breakout room situation and with just a capacity from the bank standpoint. So that's going to be next Thursday, and that's still open. And then Danny Dollar Academy, what we're going to do is hold 3 30-minute workshops where teachers can learn about the program. And then since the materials were already available online in our Google Drive, we'll make those available to them with some limited printed options as well for teachers who still need that paper support. All right, if you want to go to the next slide, Andrew. All right, and so another big part of us transitioning to a virtual format was figuring out how do we do that for our student programs and other opportunities. So one thing that we were able to transition early was our summer programming, which concluded early August, and we had weekly activities that the general public had access to, and we really hoped this would provide kind of a way for us to stay engaged with our general public. But then we're transitioning for the fall to our 3 main student engagement opportunities. The first one, Girls Make IT Better, which is for high school students. That will begin October 15th. And again, we'll still use a similar format in which we will rotate and have different bank professionals come in, and also different community stakeholders will engage with them, but it'll just be in a virtual format. Our student board, which is also another high school focused program, which offers personal and professional development for high school juniors and seniors, that will become available virtually, and that kicks off October 21st. And then the big portion of what we did prior to COVID was having a lot of field trips. So obviously we can't do that, but we've found a way to transition those into a virtual format. So if you go to the next slide, Andrew, you can see that now we've actually been able to expand the offering and really create more customized experiences for our virtual field trips. So previously, groups would come to the bank, they would get a tour, learn about general Fed history, get to explore the Money Museum. Well, we've managed to kind of convert that into a virtual format. So each group that comes and participates in our virtual field trip offering will get that, but they'll also have the opportunity to pick from our 29 virtual offerings to find something that relates to content that they are delivering in their classrooms. And the good part about it is they're all aligned. All of the activities are aligned to Ohio and Kentucky state standards. So we're really excited about that. We've actually gotten a lot of good feedback from that. We have schools signing up already. I think our first virtual field trip is next week. So we're really excited about that. And then one thing that's come out of all of this is that we've been able to remove the geographic limitations. So this has really opened us up to be able to engage with districts who might have been a little too far away from one of the branch offices or the Cleveland Fed main office. And we really, or also didn't have the funding to maybe have a field trip or have the time to do it. So this has really been has enabled us to really expand our reach throughout the district. So student board, which was only previously offered in Cincinnati, will now be available to students throughout the 4th district. It's same as Girls Make IT Better and Danny Dollar. So we're really excited about finding new ways to connect with people who would not have ordinarily been able to participate in those programs due to budget or geographic limitations. And
So
then the
about a
final,
minute left.
okay, thanks, Andrew. And so the final thing that we've done is we really integrated a lot of technology into our programming and our offerings and our resources. So we're using the Google Classroom. We'll be able to take advantage of all of those offerings. And then, as Jackie mentioned, we're using Kahoot and Quizlets as ways to keep students engaged throughout the visit. And then again, our reservation tool, which we adopted from the Richmond Fed, is making the booking process a lot easier. Previously, we used to have to do a lot of back and forth with emails about availability. Schools can go on and book directly through that. And then again, we're able to get those results as far as feedback directly from our Qualtrics survey. Next slide. Next slide. Okay, so again, we're just happy to be able to expand our offerings. We think this will be a good fit for us. Hopefully, even when things open back up, we'll be able to retain a lot of this. And again, we always emphasize our resources, which are available to our district, to schools within our district and across the country. And usually we do a great job of connecting with the other feds to kind of pair them off if there's a school outside of our district. We are always looking for ways to collaborate with our other Fed colleagues. Go ahead. Next slide. And again, just letting you know the process, we always communicate throughout the process. The process has just changed a little bit. Instead of worrying about registration lists and rosters and things like that, now we are just confirming technology. We confirm the time slots that you have reserved for your classroom, and just we are very clear about sharing what the activities are going to be and sharing those expectations for the visit. And we are looking forward to a very busy fall. So if you have availability, join us next week for Educator Night. You can learn more about that. All right, and now I'll turn it over to Scott Walla at the St. Louis Fed.
Hey, thank you, and welcome everyone. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what we've been up to, and Andrew, if you want to hit the next slide. If you are familiar with Econ Lowdown, Econ Lowdown is an online learning platform that we've developed here at the St. Louis Fed that now houses economic education resources from 9 different Federal Reserve banks. Right now there are 411 resources out there and growing, K-12. But one of the comments that we received and have received for quite a while is that if schools are already using their own platform, that Econ Lowdown is just one more thing that students have to log into. And so we're in the process of using LTI to merge the two so that if schools are using Canvas as their platform, there's this what's called an LTI handshake where the two systems talk to each other and Econ Lowdown appears seamlessly within the platform. Andrew, if you want to hit the next slide. We hit Canvas first because it's seen as the industry leader. It's been a leader in the university system for a long time, but it's growing K-12. And so the way this works is that, well, the benefits to educators, of course, is that if they're already using Canvas, students log into Canvas and they see Econ Lowdown resources within the Canvas framework. Teachers don't have to go out and set up 2 different classrooms. This is one classroom. The grade book information passes back and forth between the 2. The student roster passes between the 2. And so it truly is a seamless arrangement. And Andrew, if you want to hit the next slide, please.
You mean back or that one or the previous one?
There you go, right here. So this is a No Frills Money Skills video, and that comes from Econ Lowdown, but you're seeing it within the Canvas framework. So it truly is, you know, a seamless experience for students. There's the quiz that follows the video, and so they're seeing the resources as they're designed, but within Canvas. And next slide, please. By the way, we have 2 brand new resources in that Econ Lowdown collection. These are elementary videos. One is goods and services, and another is consumers and producers. If you know my boss, Mary Suter, well, you know that when teachers spend a lot of time talking about needs and wants in the classroom, it drives her a little crazy. And that motivated her to provide a lot of other good content for teachers to talk about in the classroom besides needs and wants, right? So this is a great way for teachers to use, to introduce things like goods and services and producers and consumers, which are great, appropriate core ideas that become the foundation stones for later learning and economics. So these are available for streaming on our website, but they're also available in Econ Lowdown, so teachers can assign these to their students. And next slide. And I'd like to invite you to our professors conference. It's virtual this year, as is everything, it seems. We have 2 shortened days, Thursday, November 5th, Friday, November 6th. We have a number of great speakers. You can see the full agenda on our website. As with all of our programs, is free. And in the past, we would have had you fly to St. Louis to visit us, which is a great place to spend time. But this year, you can just click a button and access us or access the program via WebEx. And I am done and ceding the rest of my time to Andrew.
Thank you, Scott. I'm going to talk just briefly about some of the work that we've done in Philadelphia. And I've talked previously at NAEE meetings about our interest in doing asynchronous training. So that is where the student, in this case it will be teachers, are largely watching videos and doing activities on their own time. So we have developed this mostly asynchronous model. So normally, and you've also all heard me talk quite a bit over many years about our Keys to Financial Success program. This is a program that we have in partnership with the University of Delaware Center, where we train teachers to teach a semester personal finance course. And so usually that's a week-long training in person at the Philadelphia Fed that together the 2 partners offer. Clearly it became pretty clear by April that we were going to have to do something to substitute for that. And we knew that we had teachers who were going to be needing to teach the course starting in September. And so we built 36 modules in Canvas. We're very lucky at the Philadelphia Fed to have our own instance of Canvas. And so we were able to build 36 modules that has 44 videos. Some of those are videos that were shot specifically for training and were luckily in the can. We had shot them a number of years ago. Others are materials that we have from other places. We also filmed a few things as well. And then we coupled those modules that the teachers did on their own with once a week, 1-hour Zoom sessions. And so this started on July 1st and it ended on August 3rd. And so it gives you a little sense of what the video looks like. And the teachers work through this content themselves. So this is a 30-hour professional development course, and we think we did a very good job of doing a switch over to the online space. We're lucky that we had already laid some groundwork for this eventuality. We never thought it was going to happen during a pandemic, of course. The other thing that's happened is, so for those of you who know about our Keys to Financial Success program, you know that for many years we've had a print teacher's manual. It brings together FFL, LEI, and a number of other resources, a bunch of stuff that we've written as well. And our last iteration of this, we developed an add-in that you could load onto the virtual economics thumb drive. We did a lot of work, particularly my colleague, Rebecca Chambers, who has now joined us at the Philadelphia Fed, but also our colleagues at the University of Delaware did a lot of work doing revisions of the lessons in Keys, updating them. We've updated to make use of the 3rd edition of FFL High School, and we've also added a major theme on post-secondary education and college financing. But the main thing that we did was we built and put the entire curriculum, all the teaching materials inside Canvas. So the teachers have to have a login to be able to access it. We still buy them copies of FFL and LEI, but they're able to access the materials inside of Canvas. And so this is just a look at what that looks like. So that means that they then are able, using the Canvas student version on iPad, the app on iPad, to be able to look at the lessons on their iPad, and they can access PDFs of all the content that they need for teaching the class. So we think this is a good solution in the modern age for being able to distribute the teaching materials to the teachers. And put together, both of these things mean that we can continue to run trainings. They don't necessarily have to be during the summertime. They could be offered at other times of the year. And we will be reaching out to a number of you who have over the years expressed interest in partnering, having some type of a Keys to Financial Success training in your state. We'll be reaching out to you to talk about some potentials for partnerships around offering additional instances of these asynchronous courses. So one of the things I think that's very valuable is the survey results. By the way, within Canvas, when you do a survey, it makes the top one be the right answer. It doesn't mean it's the right answer, so ignore the color there. But one of the questions we asked was, would you prefer more, fewer, or the same number of live Zoom sessions? So they had 4 live Zoom sessions. And the overwhelming majority of them said exactly the same number. So once a week for an hour was enough, and then they did the work on their own time. We asked them, if not for the pandemic, which type of professional development program would you have preferred? 25% said exclusively in-person professional development, but the majority, 57%, said that they would like to have had a hybrid program. Now, of course, remember, this is in the middle of a pandemic, but nonetheless, it was an interesting result to us. Once it's safe to once again attend in-person professional development programs, how likely are you to be willing to attend in-person programs that we offer again? And the overwhelming majority were very likely or somewhat likely. So that was also very interesting as well, that people would be, once the pandemic was over, be interested in coming back to having live sessions again. So those are the survey results that I have. And if we have questions then for everyone in the entire, from the entire group, let us know, and let's see if we can answer some of your questions. So just unmute and ask us some questions.
Scott, I noticed that Google Classroom is non-LTI. What does that exactly mean for Google Classroom integration?
So we did add Google Single Sign-On here about 2 years ago. And so while it's not seamless, we've made it easier for people who use Google Classroom. I'm not sure, we're going with the LTI programs first before we do Google Classroom with a full integration. I'm not sure which one is next. We're still deciding, but it's most likely Moodle or possibly Schoology. And I forgot to mention in my presentation, if you're interested, if you know of a school, or if your school is interested in the LTI integration with Econ Lowdown, you can contact me, or if you know David Perkis on our team, he's the point person. And so he'll talk to the IT administrator at your school. And there's a couple little switches that need to be flipped on either side to allow that integration to happen. So it takes about 5 minutes, but it has to be someone on our team talking to your IT administrator.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
One of the things that I'd like to mention is that on federalreserveeducation.org, there's a listing now of our virtual offerings across the Federal Reserve System. So you can go out and check those whenever you'd like. And again, that's on federalreserveeducation.org. Are there other questions? Unfortunately, right this minute, I can't see anyone because I'm having some computer difficulties with Zoom.
I'll just say thank you. I love the Federal Reserve resources in all areas, and thank you for all the work that you've been doing. It will be great to share with our educators in our state.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I also wanted to say thank you, Andrew. If you still can't see us, a bunch of people have said this was really helpful. So judge from that.
That's great. That's awesome. And again, don't hesitate to reach out to any of us about, potential partnerships. And especially in this virtual space, I think there's a lot of opportunities that would otherwise not have been possible necessarily because of state lines and geographic stuff. Yeah, basically, PowerPoint has basically locked everything on my machine, so all I see is PowerPoint on both screens. So I'm probably going to wind up having to crash and come back in again after the session's over.
Yeah.
The fun of Fed computing. All right, folks. Well, thank you so very much. We'll give you a few minutes break here before the next session starts.
Does anybody know much about using the free Canvas account to do PD? And then does it convert if you purchase, your council purchases Canvas? Can you convert what you build into your purchased Canvas account?
Okay, FTE uses Canvas, and we just use the free for teachers version. When I compared the two side by side, the kind of things that it's like the extra things seemed like they were student information system, like things that institutions might have an interest in, but we didn't find any value added in going for the paid version. But you know, there might be something you want. So
I'm hoping that there's eventually, I'm sorry, that was Nora Catherine. I'm hoping there's a way to integrate registration systems with an LMS so that it can streamline the registration and delivery process. But I don't know. I may be too innovative in my thought process.
Yeah. So far, there hasn't been a limit to the number of courses we've been able to offer or storage or anything like that.
Okay, that's good to know. I've built a lot in Canvas prior to coming to Virginia, but I'm just trying to weigh my pros and cons.